Today is the 16th of September 2011, and we're starting the SLanguages conference, the SLanguages annual symposium conference by, with actually this welcome address. I welcome everyone. So what I would like to do is introduce the panelists. Now, last year, in October, we did SLanguages 2010 with the fourth one. This year, it's the fifth one. And we were sitting here in actually quite an interesting, different mood, because the SLanguages 2010 was in October, and in September, quite a few things happened, one of which was that Gavin Dudeny gave up Education Islands altogether, and he wrote a very interesting blog kind of pointing to the disillusionment in Second Life with the progress of Lindenlab in general, or with the user ability of using Second Life. Actually, Graham can say that better. But what was kind of interesting is the moods of the people were, not many were in a good mood. Yeah, Lindenlab had just announced the discontinuation of the educational rate. We had, as I said, Gavin, the big discussion about Gavin giving up Second Life altogether and going into mobile technology. In the meantime, interestingly, a lot of conferences prominently show mobile technology to be the next sort of wave of technology we're looking at, and a lot of people seem to have forgotten about Second Life. So in this process last year with the conference that we did, we felt we did turn around the bit depressive mood that we went into it through this SLanguages conference. And what happened since is the topic of this welcome address, because since then a lot of things happened in Second Life, one of which is obviously the refurbishment of Education Island. Sorry about my hairy look. Quite conscious about this one. Okay, so I'll pass over to Randall, who would tell us a little bit about the development of Education. Then we are going to hear from Graham Davis and Groovy Winkler here in Second Life. Graham Davis about the development of Calico and Eurocal in the last year pertaining to the virtual world. Gary will also speak about blank my mind. What did you want to talk about, Gary? Some echo, yeah. I'm not sure. I'll relook in a minute. So, yes, somebody might have an open mic. So, Gary was wanting to talk a little bit about technology in general, I believe, and also...
I wasn't going to talk about technology in general unless you want me to talk about it. I was just going to mention something about
the... You wrote me an email. I forgot.
No, you asked me what I wanted to talk about, and I said I'd say something about the end of the Avalon project and yes, the beginning of University, basically. So, in a sense, another continuation.
Oh, fabulous. Yes, and also about the teacher meetings that have now become a standard arrangement here on a bi-weekly basis. Excellent. Thank you. Sorry about my blank mind. I'll log off just quickly because, as I said, I'm listening into your things. Randall, do you want to give it a start? And here's Ido as well. Hi, Ido. Ido is our new latest fellow who's commenting quite nicely on our human behavior.
So let me first check to see if you're getting echo from my microphone.
Yeah. Okay.
Are you getting echo from my microphone? Sometimes the computer I'm on is evil. Good. Okay. No echo. No echo. No echo. So Edu is actually me too. He's just standing in the background in case there are any problems or if I need a robot enforcer. Gwen wanted me to talk about some of the things that are going on here on Education since last year. And I think we've got some very interesting things going on. Happily, my voice sounds hollow. Oh. It's my personality. Wait a minute. Move my mic a little bit. Since last year when Gwen and I took over Edunation, we've been, of course, actively recruiting people to live here, and we're pretty much at capacity, which is great, with schools and individuals from all around the world who are based here now. Right now, actually, I'm also working on a couple grant projects to try and bring in some more islands that I don't have to pay for, which is the best way to go. So I'm working with somebody in my university, which is the University of Illinois, for a grant project that would be through Qatar, because they're interested in doing something which I think Second Life is perfect for, which is telecollaboration. And we would like to, if we get this grant, set up the projects so that there'll be some students here from the University of Illinois and some students there in Qatar, and we would be developing 2 new islands for those groups, which would both be connected to Edunation. One with I'm not exactly sure yet what a University of Illinois Central Illinois theme is. Maybe lots of corn and soybeans, which is what we have all around the University of Illinois, and one Qatar theme. Because that's what I'm very interested in, is the potential, as I'm sure most of you are as well, the potential for Second Life to engage in collaboration that students can't do otherwise. These students from Qatar are not all going to fly over to the University of Illinois for conversation practice, and the same is true going the other direction. So we're interested in developing these sorts of spaces here. One of the things I've been working on since last year as well is to continue expanding on our holodeck offerings here on the island, and those are available to anybody to use. If you live on the island, great. If not, come over and take a look at them on our sandbox, and we have another one in the sky over Edunation 3. Anybody who wants to use those for teaching is welcome to do so. Right now, I think we're up to over 100 different holodeck scenes, and this is the most recent one. This scene right now is partly on Edunation 3, partly on our temporary Edunation 2 island, which is just a beautiful beach down below us. But this scene will also be available in the holodeck at the sandbox on Edunation 2, which is a conference venue right now. And anybody could res this anytime to work with students or groups, or if you're working on a little mini conference, you'd be welcome to come here and talk to us about basing it here. But there's other scenes, of course, in the holodecks, ranging from cafes to movie theaters to castles to we just recently added a haunted house. I didn't make that one, I bought it, but if you're looking for something to do virtually for Halloween, it's a really good haunted house, and that's in the holodeck on the sandbox on Edunation 2. It is terrifying. Beware. Yeah, I kept getting dumped in lava in the haunted house. It was a very painful experience. So I'm interested in continuing to do pedagogical work in Second Life. I'm interested in doing research into these issues in Second Life. So if people are looking for research partners, give me a yell. I'm ready for that anytime. And we've also been talking about the possibility of continuing this kind of strengthening of ties. If any of you have islands and you're kind of out there on your own right now, and you are interested in moving your island over to join this group of islands, I think that would be really great. With the raise in prices, we're very interested in, how can we share resources? Are there people now who have entire islands or 2 islands who don't need that and can't afford it, but if they join another island group, we could pool these resources. And in a case like that, I'm always happy to share the holodeck. as well. I could put out a copy on an island and just leave it there. So those are some of the sorts of things that I've been working on this year in the never-ending struggle to build stuff. So I guess we can save any kind of questions or anything for after everybody else has talked. So I'm going to pass along the virtual microphone to whoever's going next.
Shall I say something then? I don't have a massive amount to say. Is that okay? Shall I speak next? Is that all right? Yeah, okay. I'm Gary Motteram. In real life, Gwared Morgwain in the virtual space of Second Life. I was the coordinator of the Avalon project that ran for a couple of years up until December last year, and we have a whole range of resources sitting on a website that we created over the 2-year project. So people who are not familiar with that, they might want to have a look at that. I'll put the URL into, that's not the right URL, sorry. I'll get the other URL. I had it ready until a second ago when I changed what I was doing in the background because I was multitasking like you're not supposed to do. Learning.eu. I'm messing it up now. Just hold on a second while I just do this. Yes, let me just grab that and put it in. So we have a whole series of resources that are available on this website. I mean, most of you will probably be familiar with the Ning that we created. Hold on, that didn't work. It's the one down at the bottom, avalonlearning.eu. So there's a whole series of resources available there. They're particularly useful for people who are teachers who are just beginning to get involved in the uses of tools like Second Life, but also there are a whole series of scenarios, different kinds of activities, descriptions of activities for teachers and this kind of thing. So it's perfectly possible. Yeah, if you'd like to join the Ning, please do join, and it's there for anybody to use. I mean, it's going to be maintained beyond the well, hopefully for as long as possible. University will maintain the Ning, or pay the costs of it, and I will remain its owner, so people can join that. And please use the website as well. And if there are, it's all created under Creative Commons, so anybody can make use of that, and adapt it and readapt it for their own uses, and then hopefully feed back into the community. But one of the things that we did as part of the project, one of the outcomes that we were expected to achieve was you know, a broader teacher group, and we have been running the teacher group on a reasonably regular basis. We certainly ran it on a reasonably regular basis up until the summer, and we need to kick that off again, and that's nice to get together. Maybe we try and meet too often at the moment. We're trying to meet twice a month, whereas perhaps once a month would probably be enough. But anyway, it's been going on a reasonably regular basis, and we also have as part of a broader consortium, we now have another project called Euroversity, which is a broader project than just about languages. It brings in, basically we met as part of that project, we met quite a lot of people involved in teaching in virtual worlds, not just in Second Life, but also in OpenSim and other spaces as well. And we also met people from different age phases as well. So people working with children in schools, some of whom who were working on the Teen Grid, some of whom who were using OpenSim. And we also met people who were training in other subject areas, so doing work with, we have one group working with artists and another group working in more sort of general education. And so we brought those people together into another project, which is basically trying to explore building a series of courses across the European Union in a number of subject areas, and spreading the community. So we'll hopefully be doing some more work in terms of promoting what we do, but also having meetings and trying to broaden the community. So it fits very nicely into the kind of areas that Randall has talked about. As that develops, I'll hopefully be able to announce more about that, and other colleagues who may be in the audience here might be able to say a bit more about it as well. But you know, this is the obvious opportunity to work with people across the pond, as we like to say, and so maybe we can look at ways that we can collaborate with universities in the States as well, and build it into something much bigger. So that's about all I want to say. So please have a look at the avalonlearning.eu website, and please make use of the materials. Join the Ning, and if you, we also have an island that's still there for people to make use of. So it's space there, and I've also talked briefly to Randall about the idea of doing more collaboration. So that's definitely possible. Okay, I'll stop there.
Okay, do you want me to step in at this point and do my bit?
Yes, please.
Is my microphone okay at the right volume? This one's a funny mic and it's often a bit fainter. Is it okay? Yeah. Okay, right. My real name is quite loud. Okay. Try and keep further away. My real name is Graham Davis. I maintain the presence for Eurocall Professional Association in Second Life. If you don't know what Eurocall is, you can find out more. I'll pop up the URL here. It's a professional association that was initially set up by a group of enthusiasts in 1986, and then it was put on an official footing with the aid of EU funding in 1993. We collaborate very closely with our sister association in the United States, Calico, and I'm putting up the URL for them now. And in recent years, we've collaborated in Second Life. Before the islands on Edunation were reorganized, that is in October last year, Calico and Eurocall had separate buildings on Edunation 3, and then we decided that after the islands were remodeled, it would be a good idea to set up a joint headquarters, and I'm giving you the slurl for that now. I'll be speaking a bit about the headquarters on Edunation 3 on Sunday at noon British Summer Time, 11 AM Greenwich Mean Time. We've just had a very successful Eurocall conference at the University of Nottingham, and I was delighted that there were several presentations on Second Life. There were at least half a dozen that I was aware of and attended. May have been one or two more, but it's obviously a growth area, and as a reflection of the growth area, Eurocall and Calico set up a joint virtual world special interest group, and we have a NING, which I'm pasting in at the moment. That's the URL I'm pasting in chat. We try to collaborate on a regular basis. It's a bit ad hoc. Randall and I often show people around the HQ, usually small groups, and I have run workshops mainly for beginners since 2008. At each Eurocal conference I've run a beginners workshop, which is my area of speciality. I've written quite a bit about Second Life. I maintain a website which some of you might know called ICT for LT. I'm pasting in the URL now, which was set up over 10 years ago. It started in 1999 and finished in 2000 as an EU-funded project, but it's been kept going ever since. And the biggest growth area is in the section on computer-mediated communication, which is section 14.2 of module 1.5. You can go direct to that URL if you click on this URL. If you click on the URL I've just pasted in, that is section 14.2.1, and there you find a lot of information about Second Life, including a downloadable Word document, which is an introduction to Second Life for beginners. It's in Word format, but if you view it on screen, there are lots of live links to YouTube videos and other sites. And I'll keep it updated, which in the present state of Lindenlab, it's a full-time job almost, because they keep tweaking the viewer, and you think you've sorted something out, and then you find they've changed something. So that's mainly what I do. I am actually a retired teacher, so I have plenty of time to sort of float around in Second Life and explore interesting places, which I love doing. I used to teach German up to degree level, and I taught French for a few years in secondary education. Both languages are a little bit rusty, as I don't use them every day now, but I get around okay. That's about it. That's about all I want to say at the moment. I hope some of you will come along to the presentation on Sunday.
Thank you very much, Graham Davis, the Grand Seigneur of Eurocal, and thank you to Gary for the update as regards the proceedings of Avalon Learning. And Avalon Learning has really truly been a most fantastic project. The 2 years that we've developed an Avalon teacher training course, which I'm very, very keen to get started very soon. So if you're interested in getting trained in Second Life as a teacher. Now, we do have on upcoming this Sunday a panel discussion on success stories in Second Life, and one of them is that quite a few teachers whom we introduced to working here in this environment have actually got jobs. They got jobs by Language-Lab. Language-Lab is now, at the moment, the biggest employer in Second Life, and they are at the moment still desperately looking for teachers. Why? Because they were hovering around about 500 students, concurrent students at any given time on their 20 sims that they're running English City, and from this year onwards they have just started to increase that number from 500 students to 5,000. So they're tenfolding their student impact, and they're looking for teachers. Carol is actually involved in doing teacher training. We have taken groups of teachers to Language-Lab, and they're still looking, will you believe it or not. They have a lot of Chinese students at the moment, so if you have IELTS teaching experience, they will take you and love you for it. So IELTS private tuition seems to be also something that they're really fond of. Now, yeah, I'm not sure how we're doing with the time. Could we invite some discussion from the audience or questions from the audience to the panel? Because in about like 20 minutes time, I would like to give a preview of this upcoming program this
Yeah,
weekend.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I've just been to the Avatar
Jens!
project.
Yeah, you're a
Yes.
part of the panelists. Come on stage.
Ah,
You're officially part of the welcome panelists. And we would like to hear about Avatar, the Avatar project. This week you met in Bulgar for your final conference. Come on down, yes. Sit next to us.
okay. I will try. Hello. Nice to see you all. Well, I will.
Yes, tell us a little
Sit
bit about
down.
the Avatar project and also this week's final conference in Bulgar. Thank you.
Well, my name is Jens Nerido. I'm from Denmark. I'm a product of the Avatar project. I'm a teacher dealing with teenagers, about 16. So I am touching the ground very often. I am a product of the Avatar project, which lasted from the 17th of January until the 17th of May. And well, they thought I had been doing some work which they would like to hear a bit more about in Burgas, where the moderators had the final workshop for the project. I have a few links which I can give you about the program. For me, being an Avatar teacher, brought my students in here in Second Life and doing a project in Sherwood Forest at British Council. It gave us some, well, for me personally, first step experience how to cope with the viewer and Second Life, and bringing students in here to do some real life situation talk and practicing their English, because I'm a ICT teacher and an English teacher at the same time. And of course I can say a lot about the project, but I have some links about my handouts which give you a detail about how we did the project, and small films, because I think it's very important for the students, or well, my age group here, 16, that they make some products. And we did that in Sherwood Forest, and I did that presentation at the workshop for my moderators, and invited people in Bulgaria, in Burgas. I just came there from well, I arrived last night very late. Just been, well, some had to work. Well, I had to teach very early, from 8 o'clock till about 2 o'clock. So it's been quite hard some days. But it was quite a great meeting for me, being a teacher. And the final thing for the project, the Avatar project. What is the situation now? Now the Avatar project had finished. Well, there are some teachers. I think we were about 100 teachers which took part in the concept, and the moderators had been researching for 1 year to get the right concept and models. It consisted of about 9 models. We went through, and we had to answer, and we had an e-platform and so on. You can see much more about it with the links to the final program. And well, what's going on now? We have the Avatar Island, where we have a beach colony, we could say, with summer houses, and we have been doing things there, collaborating and doing our kind of presentation about. We had to do the final project. We had to do a designing of teaching lessons, and we had to do that as a kind of final apprenticeship, and then we had to present it. We did that all, but what's going on now? Yes, we are looking, or the moderators or the project are looking around for where we can be accommodated. There's an idea about the Talk Academy in Austria, which might do some holidays for us with all our stuff. There are some ideas that we should have a meeting point, but we already spreading around. I'm a part of the EduNation now, the second language, English as a second language group. So people are moving around from the projects. Yes, so far so good. Sorry. Some links in here.
Thank you, Jens. And can you send us the link to your wonderful video in the public group chat? Jens created a 20-minute machinima that is heartwarming, and it tells a lot. He shows around the island where they developed their beaches and their houses and his neighbors. He explains a lot of the various activities that he did, and this video is just absolutely gorgeous. It's a 20-minute long machinima that is really, really well done. And how many were you at the Avatar project now in Bulgar this week?
Well, it was at the Burgos University, and there were the moderators presenting their part from we were 6 countries. There were Bulgaria, there was Spain, Italy, Austria, and Denmark, and the United Kingdom. So we were 6 countries. They were presenting it, the details, which country took which part, and then I were invited to tell about how we teachers had been doing. And afterwards, in the afternoon, it was a one-day conference, and in the afternoon we had some presenters giving us inspiration for the future to take along. Well, here you can see the links and the handout. I'm passing it in here. Yes.
Even though OpenSim is expanding, I still have the feeling when I go to OpenSim that it's a bunch of separate islands. Whereas with Second Life, I feel like there's such potential for exploration. Now, I think that will probably change as time goes on, as OpenSim continues to develop and become even more interconnected. But I just like Second Life in that I'm able to, if I've got a group of students and I do a search and say, oh, okay, there's a new Himeji Castle sim. Let's go. Teleport over. It's very connected that way. Of course, that's, in some ways, that can be a weakness in Second Life. You can be in a sim and have some naked guy walk by. But as I always tell people, that can happen to you in real life New York City too. So it's not a reason to not visit New York at the same time. So I have no problem with OpenSim. I have used it, but I mean, Second Life has definite limitations as well. But for me, for what I like to do, OpenSim is just not quite for me at this point. Now, if I wanted a much more restricted environment, though, kind of make a little independent platform for a group I wanted to work with, OpenSim is very good for that, and cheaper, right? You can do that in Second Life as well, right? You can restrict an island to only the individuals you want to allow there, and certainly for Teen Second Life, well, they moved Teen Second Life to the main grid, but that's essentially what they do with them now. But I don't know. I like Second Life. It's the one for me. So I'll let other people comment.
Yeah, so I just mentioned young learners. For young learners, OpenSim is definitely a very viable option because they cannot enter Second Life. For those interested in language learning, Second Life offers more possibilities to go and meet people of this native language, this target language that you're learning. For example, if you would like to learn Japanese, which is also one of our demo lessons, is you would be going to virtual Japan of the Japanese sims, Ginza, Tokyo, etc., and would try to meet Japanese also in the clubs and the pubs and try to talk to them in informal settings. That's the whole idea of being in a virtual world to connect with the speakers of that target language, or perhaps to do telecollaborative projects involving the language, working with other learners who learn the same language. As we know, dealing with native speakers is sometimes a bit humbling and actually stops you communicating, whereas if you were to telecollaborate with learners who are also learning the same language, then communication often flows freely. Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, can I comment as well? So,
sure.
I mean, I think I have to agree with Randall about the issue of community, and I think that's one of the things for me that has been most positive about experiences in Second Life, and the fact that we can all meet here, as Randall kind of pulled up at the beginning, asked the question at the beginning. We're sitting here, we're all from a variety of different places, and we can meet easily and discuss issues around language teaching, either to do with this space, or we could have a conference that dealt with language teaching in general. It's perfectly possible, so that's good. I mean, certainly when I work with my students on my MA, then and we meet in a space like this, it ends up being a place where, yes, they can come and we can have regular meetings and classes and activities and whatever. But there are also other real people out there that are also involved in language teaching that they can make contact with and sustain that contact as well. So it means that at the end of one of the big problems with courses in institutions is that they're ring fenced to some extent, but a space like this enables those barriers to break down, and you can join a professional community and be part of that professional community. The other issue about younger language learners, I mean, people are mentioning the NIFLAR project. Yes, the NIFLAR project was about teachers working in regular schools, and of course regular schools are very concerned about people, they're younger people meeting naked people, whether it be in New York, Manchester, or in Second Life, and of course they work hard to make sure naked people don't break into schools in the same way that naked people hopefully don't interrupt our sessions in Second Life. And so people would tend to choose spaces like OpenSim, but and there is a particular person that some of us know to our cost, who his name's been mentioned now, so the elephant in the room is no longer the elephant, and he tends to advocate those things, and you can see that these things are important to think about when you're making decisions about which technology to use. But the idea that there are no costs involved with a space like an OpenSim, you need server space, you do need the technical support, to actually run those sorts of things. Not everybody has a Randall available to create wonderful resources on their island. So those sorts of resources can be very costly. So you have to bear that kind of thing in mind. So there are interesting other possibilities for doing virtual worlds, but this space does work. It has a community. it has lots of people interested in language learning in and about the space, and I think there are lots of reasons for using it at the moment, but maybe those things will change. So I'll stop there.
A fabulous question. Thank you very much. Are there any other questions from the audience?
Yes, I have a question. Can you hear me?
We can indeed. Let's just wait a second till we turn you up a little.
Okay, is this better?
Yes, we actually turn you up. That means we increase your volume. Keep going.
Oh, okay, all right, thank you. I was just wondering whether you know why language, or how Language Lab could expand so drastically. These figures really stunned me that were mentioned earlier. And I thought that many months ago, really, the business model that Language Lab had created was really kind of hindering their success, that many people were really looking for more freely available, voluntary kind of language lessons in Second Life, rather than this business model that they had created. Do you know anything about that?
Well, I know that they increased their students so drastically through corporations. That means I think the new CEO is somebody who's been running, not language schools, but like who's associated with organizations where there are lots of language learners. So they are being introduced to Second Life purposely through that partnership. And also Language Lab managed to get a partnership with Pearson. And that is quite a really, really interesting partnership. They are promoting their book.
Okay.
And they've created a special place for these learners through Pearson. The other thing is that they also received a second round of funding this year. And they announced that at TEFL that they received another round of funding, which included something like €1 million. So,
Wow.
yes, €1 million funding, cooperations with Pearson, and their CEO is somebody who is in the language learning field, has been around for a long time. I've forgotten the name, who has a lot of student access.
If I could jump in on that as well, I think it's very interesting, business models for this sort of an environment for teaching. When you look at when you look at all the research done in the early forms of CMC, it's always interesting to me. There have been teachers doing research into the use of audio conferences and video conferences for years now. But if you read the early research, what you see is that in order to do this research, they had to get money for special cameras, and then they had to get dedicated lines, and then they had to develop the technology. So some of these early research projects, they literally had, tens of thousands of dollar grants to do one research project that took place over a week or two, and then that was it. That was the end of that. So and now we have Skype, for example. So it's clear to me that these sorts of technologies are always going to take time to mature, but when they do mature, often they get much cheaper. I just called, I was so proud of myself, I called for the first time earlier today via Skype to Gwen's cell phone, because normally I'm too cheap to pay anything for Skype, but I put in a little money so I could call from my computer here in Illinois to her cell phone in Germany. And, it cost me a few cents, but normally I make those calls for free. Those of us who are old enough remember when making a phone call, yes, yay, I'm so proud. Those of us who remember in the old days, 10 years ago, if you wanted to call Europe, it was really expensive and not very practical. So I think business models like Language Lab take time to mature as well. I'm very interested to see what direction they're going to go. And it doesn't surprise me. It sounds like they're really starting to connect with the Chinese market, and that's where there's some money right now. So we'll see what happens.
Would you like to ask further questions? Feel free to speak up. We're really happy about this.
Can I just make a comment while we're waiting for another question? That, I mean, in a way, I think it's also what's happened. I think is that there's been a real explosion of the different technologies that you can use for language teaching. And I mean, Heike at the beginning mentioned mobile learning, which of course is something of interest to quite a lot of people. That there are large groups of researchers who have been looking at this for an awfully long time, and the arguments that are made for this is one of the arguments to go back to the again the opening point that Gavin was making. And Gavin was talking about, you know, mass learning. I mean, if we think about you know, if you look at the number of people, you know, who learn languages in Second Life in comparison to, you know, the number of people who are learning languages around the world in primary, secondary schools, universities, colleges, private language schools, etc., in businesses, and, you know, in doing all those kinds of things, it's infinitesimal. It's, you know, it's a drop in the ocean, but my view of the world is that we shouldn't ignore any of them, really. I mean, as Randall's saying, you know, it takes time for these tools to mature, and maybe Second Life will not exist in 10 years' time in the same way that it is now, but maybe it will disappear. You know, I'm not so sure that, you know, Lindenlab has a, you know, particularly robust business model of its own, but that doesn't matter. The skills and the techniques that we've developed in learning how to use these kinds of tools, you know, can be transferred into other spaces as well. So it's not an issue about being exclusive. It's about, you know, doing the right thing in the right spaces. So what I would argue is that, you know, this kind of space is great for doing certain things, and other kinds of spaces are great for doing other things. And if you're working in a part of the world where, you know, there is no good access to the kind of broadband technologies on a standard sort of PC setup or a laptop setup, then and you only maybe have a fairly low-tech phone, but you want to, you know, kind of bring people in from different communities, then something like a mobile phone would be pretty valid. So, you know, it's a broadening and it's not an exclusivity. So Second Life has lots of possibilities, and clearly an organization like Language Lab is beginning to capitalize on that, partly because, of course, you know, in the Chinese market you have lots and lots of people trying to learn languages. So, yeah, these are the developments that we're going.
And can I take up these two key words, mobile technology and what comes after Second Life, to give you a little bit a thought, my own thoughts of where the future of virtual worlds is going. And Ido is back. Hello, Ido. As regards to mobile learning, truly speaking, it has bugged me greatly, because last year when I took over EduNation, that was last year, August, and with the response that we had from Gavin, everything, Lindenlab, etc., I actually thought I am buying the Titanic. Yeah, and that Second Life is a technology which is on the way out, and I'm investing in the wrong technology. So I've been scratching my head for about 6 months or so to try and kind of come to grips with the fact that at every conference that you go to, the topic mobile learning has sprung up, and 3D and virtual worlds, etc., is not even mentioned. I mean, Second Life is not even mentioned out there, okay? So what I thought would be a good way to, not counteract it, but to to give this new impetus is that, well, mobile learning is, as usually, it's a platform. It's a platform such as the 3Ds or virtual learning environments, Moodle, whatnot, but it's essentially an empty platform. It's a vehicle, and it needs to be filled with content. So the content are the mobile apps, and there's lots of mobile apps already out there for language learning that include vocabulary trainers and translators and you name it. So what I would like to do is I would like to add to the content for mobile apps or for mobile technology by creating language learning videos in Second Life. They're called machinimas. And for the purpose of creating machinimas, we are right now preparing an Evo session on just doing nothing else but creating machinimas. Machinimas are short video clips of things that we record in Second Life, a very lean production. And what we would like to do is we'd like to stage language learning typical situations, such as conversations in the streets, conversations at the baker, in the post office, etc., and then post those on YouTube. My experience with language learning videos on YouTube is such that they're highly popular, and they also are usually at the moment quite monologue-y. That means that it's usually a teacher who stands in front of the webcam explaining grammar. Now, how exciting is that to learn a language? But as I said, they're highly popular. So what we would like to do is, they're not published as of yet. We're in the process of creating them. We would like to become content creators. And these videos then to be offered on the market as mobile app, like video content for the mobile app, so that language learners the world over can learn a language looking at these really interesting situated learning dialogues that can go on. That was one of the ideas of how we felt we can contribute something essential to the language learning world while staying in virtual worlds. Yeah, imagine learning German when seeing somebody in the Berlin of the 20 sim or in Arcachon or in beautiful surroundings. I believe they will go well. Anyway, we're trying to do that. The other thing is talking about the future of what will come after Second Life. What will come after Second Life, I believe it's going to be something like Google 3D. Google Earth has now published, their Google, Google Earth traditionally was just the pictures from satellites of the Google Earth, yeah, in form of a software. I've written a blog post where I've explained how surprised I was to discover that Google Earth currently is being populated with 3D objects that look like houses and look like the real thing. If you go to virtual Manhattan, for example, you see a typical Manhattan skyline in 3D. Well, currently these objects are still empty shells. Who creates these objects? Well, it's crowdsourced. They are being done by kids, 11 and 12-year-old kids. The software used is Google SketchUp, which is a free tool on the web, and geomapping is used to place those 3D objects on the actual place where they are on the Earth. Well, Google 3D is, if you look at it, if you look at the blog post and later on you can look at the pictures, it's not a fantasy world like Second Life. It's just a 3D world. It will be very likely that in a couple of years' time, we will have our little Google avatar walking the streets of Ginza in Tokyo, and then our project partners decide, well, let's not do the meeting in Tokyo this time, but let's meet in London. And then we will get a link to the map, go to Google Map, put in that street in London, and then teleport there. A G-tar, a Google avatar G-tar. It's just an idea. That's why I think it's going. Definitely, the internet is going into 3D. There's no question about it. So whatever we are doing here in Second Life does hold a future.
If I could just kick in a comment or two there as well. I agree with a couple of the comments from the crowd that Gwen may have overstated the case about Second Life not being mentioned at conferences. Of course, as Groovy mentioned, it was mentioned a number of times at Eurocall. It was very big in Calico last year, and I know there are a number of proposals that are going to be put in for Calico this year as well. I think what happens is, what's new many times at conferences gets the most attention. We're attracted to what's new. And from my standpoint, as I tell my students when I teach a class on CMC, different technologies are good for different things. And some technologies are useless in certain situations. I've read so many studies that talk about, this looked at the use of text chat between two groups of students. And then you read the study more carefully, and you notice that the two groups of students were the same class, and they were all sitting in the same computer lab. And I always picture these students typing, and then leaning over to their partner and saying, "Hey, did you get that? Did you get that?" There's not much of a point in doing that. A virtual world, for the kind of interaction that can do, is super powerful. On the other hand, mobile-assisted language learning can be very powerful as well. And I think Gwen's idea of producing videos in Second Life for that purpose is great, because if you think about the way you can produce a video for a learning situation in Second Life, you can do it much, much cheaper and much more creatively than you can do in real life. I'd love to be flown over to Paris to produce a video about learning French on the Eiffel Tower, but can't really afford it. But I can teleport over to the Eiffel Tower in Second Life and make a video there that costs nothing. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay. I think we have to wrap up this discussion, although we started a bit late. Could I still ask a last comment or a question from the audience? Even in the text chat, feel free to ask a question to the panelists. And then, if you permit, I would still like to just take 5 or 10 minutes to give you an overview of the program that is in store for us this coming weekend. If the panelists still would like to do a final comment, please feel free.
I have one final, very academic comment to make. That when you have when you're in a break, feel free to do a little exploring. On the HUD, you'll find there are a couple art galleries out here on Edunation now. And those are going to be ongoing with rotating exhibits. In the Terra Gallery right now, there's a really wonderful set of photographs taken in Second Life. Amazing photographs to me. I can't believe the quality. And the Jupiter Gallery has sculpture, 3D sculpture, that's also wonderful. And then if that's too serious for you, I also put out a couple links. One for hang gliding. Takes you to the top of the volcano above the Calico Eurocall headquarters. That's always fun. And there's a bunch of watercrafts down below us on the temporary island, jet skis, bumper boats, windsurfers that, and you can have academic discussions while you make use of those as well. So.
So allow me just to repeat a comment by Pink Samurai. Pink Samurai, who is located around, well, the Dubai, I believe, at the moment. And she comments on the idea with mobile technology in Adobe Connect Pro, saying that, of course, people come to Second Life. And by the way, she is helping people to learn English on Cypress Chat. She saying, of course, that because of access through mobile technology, this is the preferred means of choice. But one of the reasons that she found that people join Second Life, even though it's a lot more difficult to access, is because they would like to practice their language. And this is what we're here for. This is what SLanguages is all about as teachers. What we would like to do, though, is we'd like to increase our networking capabilities, our teaching each other to be ready for the impact. And I mean with impact, I mean that a few more language learners will join Second Life as soon as Second Life runs in a browser. Currently, the time is still not ready for language learners by en masse, but we are expecting this to take a turn as soon as Second Life will run in a browser. About the technical development in the background, when this is likely going to happen. We will talk about this, I hope, throughout the weekend. So with this, I officially wrap up the panel, thanking Randall, Jens, Graham, and Gary for the input. Thank you very much. Oh, somebody's crying. No, wrong applause button.